Good evening, everyone. This is the November 18th, 2024 meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee. It's 5:30, call to order. I ask, this is being recorded and being broadcast right at the moment and will be posted. And I ask if anybody else is recording. Nope. Okay. First item on the agenda is to review and approve our previous meeting minutes. I know Heather sent them out. If there's any discussions, questions, corrections. Well,
I move to accept the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah, we have
fourth, I guess.
Yeah, have a motion. Have a second. Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? To vote. Move on to our presentation of their updated plans from Tecton and all the comments from last time and the reshuffling and stuff. So have at it.
All right. So, where we left it at the last building committee meeting was basically taking the plans that we had and doing one of these with it. Move the second floor down to the first floor, move the right side of the building over the left side of the building, and come up with a plan to deal with the extra unallocated space that was originally planned for the dispatch center. There were also some comments on the site plan, and we've updated the exterior renderings, taking into account some of your comments. The building mass has changed significantly, taking off portion of the second floor. So we'll go through that. I'm going to go back and forth between PowerPoint and in a PDF, so we can zoom in on certain areas as we walk around the plans, and you can actually see them on the screen. But this will certainly be a more abbreviated presentation last time. Hopefully you have some good conversation out of this, and we'll go back and make any necessary revisions as seen fit. So this is the updated site plan. The building form has changed a little bit. We sort of squashed it back a little bit, made it a little bit more compact as we realigned some of the programmatic pieces. We did add a dash area that showed the hypothetical future expansion of the police station here. This is based on the program that we had worked out with the PD a few years ago. Basic front entry to the south of the building, sally port off to the back, and some support spaces. So we'll keep this in the plans moving forward so that it's readily apparent where that was originally planned to be. We've also added some sidewalks connecting the Veterans Memorial Plan North, and then created a smaller Firefighters Memorial on the corner here at Route 20. A couple of flagpoles there, a small space for a memorial to be constructed, really helping anchor the site on the corner there, on the public corner, and draw you in as you come down Route 20 and into the site itself. We simplified the circulation a little bit here. You know, we were looking at some of the aerials of what's there now, and trying to pull the queuing back to bring you into the site was creating some complications. And if we just made this a traditional curb cut and brought you right in, makes it a little bit simpler. We also maximized, for the most part, the available parking here. So we were able to gain a total of 71 parking spaces in the front. So that would basically accommodate, all public parking for use of the training room in a larger event. The only thing we lost in the back with this arrangement is by moving some of the program into this section of the building, and we'll get into that in the plans. We lost 4 administrative parking spaces that were right up against the building. There's still 6 there. We could certainly add to it if we wanted to now. We would have to lose those in order to accommodate a future sally port, but that's future discussion and something down the road. Any questions on the site plan?
I did notice you shrunk the parking lot to the north there.
Yes. Yeah. We also, originally I think we were showing some 20 parking spaces. We were maximizing the available parking spaces here, reduced it just to 5, gave back some green space.
Okay.
Yep. And then we also increased the grassy buffer here, this island between the return route for apparatus and staff vehicles and those 5 parking spaces. So before there was kind of a 2-foot strip. Now it's a little bit more substantial.
Matt, on Route 20, side, with that memorial on the corner, is there going to be like a heavy guardrail there or something?
Yeah, we can put in some some vehicle protection, maybe some stone bollards or stone planters. We could do a concrete seating wall or something like that we can dress up with something like that, something to give a little bit of, because you're on a pretty heavily activated road, pretty high speed traffic, so adding some protection.
That other corner has been run over by trucks.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same on that corner, but the other corner for Park and Shop, I mean, the
sign.
lights, everything gets taken out. They've got Jersey barriers there now. It may not be as big a problem coming out of Prospect, making the right to go westbound, but for whatever reason, going westbound on 20, taking a right onto Prospect there to get to Park and Shop and whatnot, they can't
I almost
seem
wondered if Mass DOT might rework that whole entry to 20 based on the fire station project and try to help with that, because like you say, that the right hand side takes a beating.
It struggles.
Yeah.
The other thing we could do is we could leave this a little bit more of like building signage and some planters and plantings and things like that to dress it up, and then we can create a memorial at the front of the building over here in this sort of grassier area, so that you're a little bit off of the main thoroughfare.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about things like road salt. Route 20, they lace it with road salt, and if you put some beautiful memorial out there, I just don't know what that'll look like.
Sure.
I can appreciate it being there, but the traffic and the roadway being right there, I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, if there's enough buffer between the streets and where the, significant part of it is, then I think it's okay. If you've got 3-4 feet, before you put your actual structure or whatever. But yeah, if it's right up against the road, it's going to get
Be tough.
Yeah.
I mean, Chuck's had those boulders. We could save those. Might help.
I would suspect we'll have some rock left over on the site. There's a pretty big rock outcropping where we've got the buffer here, so I'm envisioning there's going to be a little bit of ledge to be dealt with, so we can save some rock from that for sure.
I do like it on the corner there because of the visibility. Like the one thing when we were looking at it before about like, does this look like a fire station? As people drive by, having something right on the corner there with flagpoles and a, sign or a memorial or whatever is going to be like, this is the fire station.
Yeah, you can almost see it like if sort of this half of the circle here is sort of, concrete walls, or it's dressed up with some bricks or something like that, and then the memorial sort of facing this way. We can put some signage on the back side of that.
Yeah. The Veterans Park on the 1220, that has a retaining wall around it, doesn't it? One of those parks does. I don't remember which one now. Same idea, right? It's like a stone wall is the sort of the front of it.
Small one in the front.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Jump into the plans now. So just quick overview on the plans. So looking at the ground floor here, basically from the sort of transition zones back, we haven't changed too much, but there's been some minor tweaks. But for the most part, the big moves from the public entry coming in to the lobby, training room, fitness, administration to the right of the plan, and then your base support spaces and the apparatus bays plan north. And then the second floor, that's where we move the living quarters up above. So your bunks and day and living room, day room and kitchen and all that. I'll jump into a PDF just so we can zoom in a little closer. So this is the ground floor plan. So coming into the main vestibule here, again, directly off of that is your EMS walk-off room for triage any walk-ins that have medical emergencies. Coming through the vestibule, you come into a larger lobby than we were showing before. The one we had originally was fairly modest. This can be a 2-story height space, which would actually help with the day room and kitchen area and all that, and bring some natural daylight down into that space. elevator machine room and elevator, and then a couple of public restrooms right off of the lobby. Off to the left, this is the Emergency Operations Center and Training Room. That's supported by kitchenette, supply closet. There's an AV room that'll have a AV rack in there and switchboard for broadcasting, furniture storage, and an EOC conference room for breakouts. And that has its own EOC storage. It's going to have radios, laptops, things like that for when they activate the OC. To the north of that is the fitness room. This is configured such that if there ever was a police station constructed here, that it would be able to connect to here to have shared access to the training room as well as the fitness room. It also allows for after hours access directly into the fitness room rather than having to come in through the building. So we can create a security sequence that allows this to be used after hours by other departments as needed. Just to the north of the lobby is sort of the staff lobby. So they'd be coming in from the back under a stair. This is sort of an open stair scheme up to the living quarters. Down through the administrative offices here, we've got our main admin space with reception window into the lobby. The EMS coordinator's office is right next to the EMS walk-off space. Then we have the lieutenant's office, captain's. That's a shared meeting room between the captain and the deputy chief, and then the chief's office is right above that. We've got our shared fire prevention office here, training office, storage, IT room, a couple of restrooms, small storage closet, and then the administrative conference room. Some of the changes to the support spaces here, in our conversation we had at the last building committee meeting, the chief was talking about the desire to have more of a decontamination sequence rather than just gross decon. A lot of fire stations will have a gross decon. So that's basically just like a spray down shower. And then you drop your gear, it goes into the gear extractor and dryer. And then you just move back on into the building and go into your regular locker and shower rooms. This is a little bit more robust of a decon so that you're really cleaning yourself well before you're going into the clean side of the building, making sure you're getting all those carcinogens, not just off your gear, but off your person as well. So the sequence would work as you come into the building from a response, you'd come into the main decon room with your gross decon area here, which is basically just a roll-in shower, gear washer, dryer here. From there, you proceed into a small locker room that would have a wall of smaller 3-tier lockers with just an extra set of clothes in there. And then you can go into a male or female decon room that has a sink and a shower. So sort of wash out your gear, clean your gear, then wash your person, and then you're off into the clean side of the building.
Matt, just a quick question. Are there toilets in those shower areas?
There are not. There's a separate dirty side toilet room on the bays. We didn't put toilets in here. We could add them.
I guess I'm just thinking, like, when you come back from a call, you kind of got to take care of business. And if you have to walk across the way, if it's possible to put it in the same area,
Yep.
that would, that avoids people from using other areas of the building.
Sure. We actually, the turnout gear room is a little oversized, so we could steal a little space out of the gear room and give it over to the decon rooms. They're not large enough right now to get a toilet in there, but we can get a toilet in there by taking a little bit of space next door. Next to that, to the left, we've got our turnout gear storage room. So once the gear's been cleaned and dried, it can come right into the turnout gear, into the ready racks and stored for use. And then we've got our transition zone. So coming in from the clean side of the building into the bays. On the right side of the plan, we've got our radio room, our transition area with the small kitchenette and waiting area for mutual aid, and then our EMS supply storage room. Everything to the north here hasn't really changed. We've just reworked the arrangement of the workroom and the compressor room and some of these other spaces to get better access to the mechanics bay. And then we've got our mezzanine up above. So on the second floor, pretty much everything from this line up hasn't changed from the last time you've seen it. We've got stair access over here, and then the open stair off to the back with our elevator. We can have this open to below down into the lobby, either with some storefront to cordon it off acoustically from below, or we can just have a railing over there and have it as an overlook down to the lobby. The basic arrangement here is a series of bunks around the perimeter. We added one extra bunk for future growth here in the core. 4 separate restroom showers, one of them designated as a female, one designated as male, and 2 non-gendered that can be used by anybody. And then we've got our supply closet, housekeeping space, and then our kitchen, dining, and day room. Because everything off to this side of the plan is a single-story space, we can take advantage of some windows here, some glass here into the day room kitchen area, and borrow some of that natural daylight and bring it into those deeper rooms. We can also do this dining area here as a folding partition so that we can expand the size of the dining room when there's events over the holidays and things like that, so they can bring in some extra tables and have a larger gathering in this space as well. To the north of that is the fire pole access down to the bays, some roof access, and then your electrical and mechanical room up there as well. Any questions on the floor plans?
We lost some write-up rooms or work rooms, study rooms for the firefighters that we had on the lower plan.
Yes. Yeah. So we originally had a report writing area that was, or a study that was included in the bunk areas. Mm-hmm. So they do have desks and report writing spaces within each bunk. Working with the department, they determined it'd be easier to consolidate that down and do the report writing in the radio room downstairs, so that they're coming right in from calls. They can write the reports and they can do everything there.
I know it was a discussion last time, so I'm going to make sure we kept the spaces.
Yep.
Matt, the lobby, I know it's not an illusion, but it appears that it gets wider as you go into the building.
Yes.
Would it be beneficial for us to try to make that a straight wall so that we could have some additional space on the second floor to make like that kitchen dining area just slightly larger? I don't know how much of a space that is if you square that off.
We could we can do that either way. It's sort of advantageous to have it a little bit wider over here because of the elevator being here and the restrooms. It gives you a little bit more space, so there's going to be a little bit more congestion in those areas, especially when there's a training going on. We can provide additional space for the kitchen and dining area up here, irregardless.
I guess what I'm curious about is, say at the opening, at the narrowest point, what is that across? And then at the furthest point, what would that be across?
This is like 10, 11 feet here, and it's maybe 14 feet up here.
Right. So it's not much. It's not
much. It really wouldn't be a big deal for to keep it the way. I mean, you're talking about that much space. It's not even the width of the door.
Your exit from since it doesn't go directly outside and it doesn't go right into the lobby. That's your exit discharge for the
up here.
No, on the first floor. When he's talking narrowing it off, you're gonna coming out of the training room.
Yep.
If you got 72 seats, do you have enough?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
at
this point anyway.
Yeah, we have plenty of room for egress out of here.
Matt, while you're there in the lobby, can you just explain what the flow would be? That EMS room immediately to the right, like what would the flow of it be for someone coming into the building?
For a medical emergency?
Any situation, and just you can start with the medical emergency, I guess.
Yeah, so for a medical emergency, you basically come right in and right into the EMS walk-off room. For anybody from the general public that would be coming in, you'd come through the vestibule. If we're planning on securing the interior vestibule door, typically in a public safety building, we interlock these so that they can both be locked, but typically the exterior one is unlocked, so that if somebody's coming in from the rain or with a medical emergency, or you're a safe haven community, so dropping off a baby or something like that, that you can do that safely and get out of the elements into the vestibule, and that these would be locked after hours. There'd be an A phone or something like that that you can buzz to the admin or whoever is on call. During normal business hours, if it's open to the general public, these would be unlocked. You come right in, check in with admin, and send you on your way. I would imagine, for the most part, all the doors off of the lobby, normal business hours, are going to be access controlled.
You would be, after hours, be able to control access, even elevator, be able to shut everything down, just so if the...
Yep. We could put keycard access on the elevator. You typically control everything through an IP addressed security system. So somebody from the fire department could monitor that and change it through a workstation, as long as they have the licensing software.
You could probably time it out even, couldn't you? So that at 4 o'clock things lock down to a different
Yep.
thing than during the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that I was thinking about leading up to this was flex space. And so I wanted to, maybe get some input here. So we don't want to build space that's going to be unused, but I think we need to think about, it sounds like there's an extra bunk. So today, under normal operating conditions, there'd be an empty bunk room, right? Is that what I'm understanding? What about on the office side, the administrative side of that? If there was another admin role of some sort that needed to be hired, whatever that might be, is there enough flexible space to, I see offices that have like 2 desks in them. I'm just wondering, do we have sort of unused desk areas or an unused office where if we hired, some new I'm thinking 20 years down the road, and there's, you need to have a resource officer or something. In addition to what you have today, is there enough flex space you could say, hey, we're going to convert an office?
Could both answer it.
Without losing conference rooms, which is what happens in a lot of buildings. You say, oh, we have to hire a new person, so we're going to take the conference room out, and now suddenly you're, without a conference room.
So for the admin space in particular, there's little tricks that we play with the plan throughout for this sort of thing, right? We're showing 3 dedicated workstations in the admin plus the reception window, which you could outfit fully as another desk. The work surface counter spaces here and here are also sized such that in the future they could be removed and be supplemented with a workstation. A lot of the offices sort of have that extra wiggle room built into that, or they've got an extra desk programmed above what is staffed currently because they're based on the future staffing levels.
Okay. So like today in the admin, the reception area, how many people would normally be there?
Two. So if you look at that plan, the way that it currently works out is like the admin area, there's 2 now, it's got growth for 1.
Right.
Mass has 2 desks. It has every room right there, with the exception of the chief and deputy, has a second desk so if it has 2 desks, it has 1 person in it now. If it has 3 desks, it has 2 people in it.
Okay. Then that's exactly what I'm looking for then. So, all right. Thanks.
Just sort of build on Greg's talking about 20 years or future out. So I appreciate everything done here relative to sort of consolidating and moving things around. But I've heard the chief's presentation a bunch of times on the Auburn Street. Had they just done such and such over the apparatus bays, I forget it was the steel or what, that would could have allowed for a future expansion. Will that one level side have the capabilities or the steel or the components that if 20 years down the road we needed additional space on that second floor?
Yeah, so we can do that. It's a financial decision to make now, right? Because there's an increased cost associated with that, but that's not a problem. We can show when we run the estimate what that delta is, and we can make an informed decision on whether that makes sense. So we'll probably have a little bit of upsizing of some of the steel members. We would be doing wide flange steel instead of open web joists probably for the roof structure. And instead of doing just insulation built up over a metal deck, we would do a cast in place concrete roof deck that would allow you to build up in the future. So we could certainly do that.
I just think it may be something wise, because part of the message we've heard over the years was when they did the police department site, they didn't think far enough out that it was big enough at that moment. Well, maybe not even at the moment, but it met that needs at that given moment. And then we heard the chief talk about Auburn Street. Had they just done a little more, we could have done more with that building. So I think it's a good selling point to the taxpayers to say, look, we're looking out long range. This is a long range facility. This isn't just to meet the needs of the moment. The design as is meets the needs, but we're thinking beyond for the future, so that it would have to come back.
Through the chair, I think Kevin brings up a great point. And internally, after the committee met and the conversations that Matt and I had and the deputy, we felt that it was more important to give up that 5,000 square feet of sort of unfinished space in order to shrink the overall footprint, ultimately shrink the cost, knowing and having the plan that if 20, 30 years down the road, if we really needed an expansion, then the voters could consider a second floor addition above the training and the fitness area. So we felt that was a better versus building 5,000 square feet of unfinished space. And if you really ask me what we would do with it right now, I don't know that I could give you an answer.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point.
I think
That'll be a good selling point, like you're saying.
Yeah.
the philosophy here, which I like having the, whether it's a police station or something else, drawing off that like we've thought of expansion, town expansion, by keeping the footprint compact. Here, I think saying we've thought of building expansion for, unknown purpose. We can if we need to, but we're not, building it out right away.
Matt, do you mind walking us through the flow of traffic on the second floor in the living quarters?
Sure.
Just trying to figure out like how the individuals get to the apparatus bays.
So yeah, so normal day to day coming up into this space from the parking area is going to be through this stair here and up. If they're coming up from the bays or anything like that, there's the transition zone that's down below this roof that they would come up this stair and into the suite. When responding, if they'd either respond down this stair here and come through the transition zone, or they would come down the fire pole right there, which would land them right into the bays and then into the gear room.
And then there's access on the other side, the other stairwell as well to the bays.
Yeah. So they'd be able to come in through the transition zone here down this stair. If they're coming from the parking lot or responding from the exterior, they can come through this door right into the bays as well. Multiple points of access.
Thank you.
Could you go back to the second floor for a second?
Sure.
Okay, so if we wanted to take advantage eventually of building on the second floor there, the access would be through that area there. Okay.
Yep.
Currently, that door just goes out on the roof?
Exactly.
Just a question, Matt, circling back to that concrete deck you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That being exposed to elements, say, for 20, 30 years, is that going to be an issue?
No, it'll still have a roof on it.
Okay, so there'll be a roof over it?
Yeah, so typical like a flat
Take
roof,
the
you would
roof
just have metal deck and then it's like insulation and then a roof membrane.
Okay.
Some other stuff in there too, but this would basically be metal deck, concrete, and then all those roof layers on top of that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. I want to take a look at what this looks like,
Sure.
or what this could look like. So I'm gonna caveat this. So when we talked about this last time, we had talked about maintaining a flat roof on the bays, gable end on the south portion of the plan, and then sort of brick and stuff on the lower levels, and then maybe some ground face or something like that on the back to reduce some cost. So we didn't really render too much of the back, so you won't really see that. But I'll caveat it and say when we took the second floor component away from here, the proportions just don't work for a gable end. It just didn't make sense. So what we're proposing is keeping a low slope roof here, but that's still pitched and can still be a stainless steel metal roof that gives you that longevity. It just doesn't work as a gable end. Trust me on that one. So this is a view from the front corner of the building as you're coming into the site. So what you're seeing here is sort of a cantilevered low slope roof structure that sort of extends out over the front entry and then kind of wraps down over where the main vestibule would be. This is sort of it's a linear metal wood look material, sort of warms it up a little bit, but it gives you the longevity of a metal product. It doesn't wear down over time. Red brick, traditional red brick. It's rendering a little pink here, but more of a New England traditional red brick blend is what we would envision there. Down along the base course, we could do this. This is also brick, but it's just sort of, we're just stepping every other course in and out by a half of an inch just to give a little bit of shadow, a little bit of depth, breaks that facade up a little bit more. And then infill in between the windows here. This could either be a corrugated metal panel, or we can do this out of a black brick or a ground face block. Either one would be appropriate. This is circling around to the apparatus bays, so you can get a little bit more sense of that roof coming down with that sort of a little bit more dramatic overhang at the main entry of the building. The apparatus bays are brick around the apparatus bay doors. We've got a little bit of corrugated metal over those doors with some signage indicating the bay number, and then sort of a dark gray ground face block that would then wrap around the sort of backside. And then this view is sort of down the parking lot, looking back towards the training room. Just continuing that articulation of the stepping brick down at the bottom, the red blend up above it. Taking advantage of some clear story windows here. This being the training room, we can do this with sort of a frosted glass. You can sort of backlight that with some red light so it kind of glows, really stands out as a fire station at night. And behind this in the way tree, there's a series of windows that go down the backside that would help bring that daylight and some views to the exterior into the deeper spaces as well.
Where are we in relation in this view?
This is the entry right here.
That's the main entry.
Yeah, and so this is all looking into that 2-story lobby space.
So you'd still do that's still a sloped roof there on the west side.
This, we can do it as a sloped roof. We can do it as a flat roof. So I think it's rendered here as a low slope roof pitching back this way.
Yep.
We can do it as a flat roof as well.
That's if we just decide to go with the option for the future expansion would
Yep.
be okay.
Where do those slope roofs, where does all the ice and stuff slide to on those slope roofs? That seems, where does it go?
Yeah, so in these, there's a section of flat roof back here, so they're pitching
Trapdoor.
they're pitching back so that it's not dropping it down onto the public. That is always a problem. So that wouldn't be an issue here.
So all of the drains on the flat roof, all of the drains fall in the flat roof section?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. And then we can push that out to the exterior and scupper it into some downspouts, or we can internally drain that through the building.
I do like that spot for the memorial though better than the corner.
Yeah.
I do too.
I think it defines it, especially flagpoles, the illuminated flagpoles, and
I think the people driving on Prospect will be able to appreciate it more than people driving down Route 20.
In that spot, Kevin?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and when you added the sidewalks, now it's something they could visit both things.
Yeah.
Gives you something to look at.
Definitely
too.
a little bit better than this one. White.
That's why I'm sitting in it.
Well, your office will face it.
I like the brick better. I like the roof on the other one.
I like the equipment bay being a separate color too. It just makes it distinct that it's not a in-service vehicle. So, yeah, I like that.
So the white spot in the middle, is that the transition
Yeah.
zone?
Yeah, so that's that roof access piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's up here.
And then this is the radio room in here, so nice
Okay.
sort of glass box looking out onto the apron. Good visibility.
So did you not like the look of the gable end? It just didn't fit, or it's such a small area now?
It's really stubby because it's such a,
Because the building steps down.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it looked very out of place.
If we decide to build out that space, can we go back to that? I don't
Now
wanna
you're
lose
doing
it
the other
completely.
roof, Sean.
Time it nicely with the roof replacement down the road, 25, 40 years down the road, somewhere in there.
I like the look of it. It's like modern, but yet still classic with the brick and the.
Yeah, I think we had a discussion last time, right, about when you park, where's the front entrance going to be located? I think one of the renderings you showed right there, I think that solves that. Right, leads everyone right to the main entrance there.
Well, and I think changing the parking lot entrance
Yeah.
helps that too. Before it was kind of, it could be
awkward.
confusing.
Yeah. Well, there was also, because of the gable end, we had a big, like a curtain wall section in there that kind of looked like it should be the entrance or something.
Yeah, it was definitely competing for sure. Yeah.
Now that's gone away, so it's easier to define it.
I like the black with the red versus the white.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically the opposite of what we showed you last time.
Yeah. There was a lot of white last time.
Is that sidewalk right up against the building?
It is. It doesn't have to be. It's
Okay.
It's a little snug in there, but
Yeah.
I like that better for maintenance.
yeah. For me,
You need to have,
3-foot gravel buffer between the sidewalk and the building, so you're not taking your snow blower and whacking it into the building. But
Do you pull a lot of weeds?
we do. I was a landscaper before.
Can we put some bollards in out front so we don't have any vehicles
Oh yeah, absolutely.
entering the facility, making their own entrance?
Jeez.
Want me to design the whole building in 2 weeks, guys? Come on. Anything we hate.
Is there a rear view?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's where you're gonna hate it.
Yeah. Right.
It's going to be highly visible because that's the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through.
Yeah, this building has 4 sides for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't care about them.
I know.
I agree with Heather, it's kind of a good mix of old school brick, but with kind of a modern feel, like in the car dealership, realm, with some of the way that their architecture is, like even just the pitch roof, like it's not flat, but it's, kind of a more dressy flat roof, with pitch, so.
Is there a reason for the gingerbread framing over top of the roof access area? In the white area back there? I was just curious. I don't.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it's just more just an element, within the composition. Could it be something different? Yeah, for sure.
I think having it visually distinct, though, helps divide the...
Well, yeah, but you could have it not there and just have a high enough parapet rail. I mean, that really not, other than creating some boxiness around it, there's no other reason for it.
Right. Yeah, because this is basically curtain wall without glass, more or less. It's a frame, right? It's open.
Expense.
Where's the mechanical equipment going to be?
Mechanical room. It's back
Right behind that,
behind this.
Okay.
down going back along the building. Where all your water and snow is going to pitch to, right to the mechanical spaces.
It'd be hot in there.
So all the HVAC, all that, all those units, rooftops up will be in that space.
It depends on how we detail the system. We've been doing these more recently. It's been going more heat pump and with the dedicated outdoor air system. So the DOAS unit is going to be your big unit that's going to be on the roof. we can, put that over the bays. We can put that on, I'm hesitant to put anything, over, if we're really going to plan this as a future build out, I really don't want to put any mechanical equipment over any of these roofs because it's just one more thing you're going to have to deal with when it comes time. So, so for the most part, the DOAS unit and some fans are going to live on the roof, and then all of your, a lot of your other units are going to live within the building and with the heat pumps, VRF cassettes like in every space and things like that. So there's not that much that goes into them anymore. So it won't be too bad. But I would think for a building of this size, you're just going to have one DOAS unit for the building.
Yeah, what's DOAS stand for?
Dedicated outdoor air system.
Thank you.
Or supply. So, it uses when it comes time to do all the mechanical programming, we'll go through a series of different systems that'll work for the building. We like this system, especially for public safety facilities, because you're not recirculating any air within the building. It uses a heat recovery ventilator to recapture the heat that's being exhausted, and condition the air that's coming in. But ever since the start of COVID, we sort of tried to get away from recirculating air as much as possible. In a fire station in particular, it even makes more sense because you're not recirculating and having to deal with MERV filters all over the place to get carcinogens out of your recirculating air and things like that. It's less maintenance at the end of the day in a healthier building.
More technical weeds.
The only aesthetic thing I would think is some sort of signage on that Prospect Street side, just to, even if the big patch was moved out to that corner, if something to identify what the facility is. Just
Something over the bays.
yeah, something over the bays too. But even if we're directing the public towards from that side, what are they?
Patch on the corner right there.
Just yeah.
Yeah. Big,
Well, I mean,
big patch on the corner, yeah, the left corner there.
Not where we have it.
No, I like it.
No,
big,
both.
too.
He's saying both.
Maybe different sizes.
All right.
Smaller.
Patches everywhere.
Yeah.
Inside the building.
I mean, if you move the memorial,
do you want a
you've got the
multi-spot
option
from
of
the
a signboard on the corner too.
Patch here. No multis cross anywhere.
On the Route 20 corner.
Yeah.
You could even incorporate some type of an arrow below it. So, I mean, not trying to be too obvious, but if they see the patch on this side, I think that can be confusing.
I think if we incorporate the memorial here, then I think we can rework the landscape that it is even more apparent to bring you to where the entrance is. So I think we can guide that sequence a little bit more through the landscape.
Well, because there's no need from the front of the bays to go along the front of the building from an operational standpoint, right? You would just go through the building. So if if you're preventing pedestrian access going along the front of the business part of the building over to the bay side, then that would pretty much, I think, dictate where people would end up having to go.
Well, plus you have no parking on this side.
Right.
Yeah.
You just have the aprons for the truck for the bays, and then you have the big parking lot going down the front. So
If they don't see the front entrance right there as they're parking.
Matt, for the fire personnel in the room, are you guys happy with what is there? Is there anything that you guys are the experts in terms of what's there in terms of space and
I like the space, I like the layout, the design. Looks good.
I'm really pleased with the layout. I think the committee feedback was good. I think putting the training room and fitness on the first floor, I think was a game changer in terms of just what that flow is going to be, especially for public use. And I think it freed up the ability to kind of shrink down that 5,000 square feet. But I think the flow is really good.
Matt, did we lose any space in the training room or fitness room?
No, in fact, you gained a little bit of space. The other thing that's nice, so the training room is basically the same size. The fitness room, because it's combined with the circulation here, it's actually larger than it's programmed to, because this is sort of, it's added into it a little bit. The other nice thing with it is because we're up against the pavement over here. We can put in some overhead doors into the side of the fitness room here, so they can open it up and on a nice day extend the fitness room out into the parking lot and take advantage of that. So rather than have it on it gives them more flexibility on how they do fitness and training down here than if it was on the second floor.
Looks good.
So through the chair. So I know the next item on the agenda is to discuss the next steps with the OPM. So as we look at the calendar, the RFQ is going to hit the central register on Wednesday. The deadline for proposals to be back is Friday, December 13th at 11 a.m. So if the committee wanted to try to pull off interviews before Christmas, you would have to look at the week of the 16th to conduct interviews, which would then allow sort of that Christmas break, depending on when it was in the beginning of the week. We probably realistically wouldn't be awarding a contract until the week after Christmas, probably between Christmas and New Year. Award a contract in order for somebody to start very early in January. But as we look out at what the committee schedule is on the every other week, I'm interested to hear, and I'm sure Matt's interested to hear from the committee, like whether it's the floor plan, the exterior, do we love it, do we hate it, what do we want him to go back to the drawing board with? Because the committee may have only one more meeting between now and when we bring the OPM on board. And when the OPM comes on, we want to be able to turn this floor plan over and the exterior drawings over so they can immediately get to work on their piece, in order to start. So some feedback for Matt tonight on, are we way off on what we were looking at on the exterior? The interior, so I think some, committee feedback tonight on whether or not they're going down the right track is important.
Do we know the square footage of this building? The way it sits?
We do. 31,000.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Without, because it was 36 and some change without the 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's about 31,000.
Feels like based on our previous discussion, we're, minus some of the changes like we talked about, the rear rendering and the signage on Prospect Street, maybe some of the other, the bathrooms, when you come in, feels like we're most of the way there.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, it certainly, we've come a long way because I was never comfortable. I know it's probably more efficient to have the bunks and the ready rooms and stuff on the first floor, but the way this was laying out, it just wasn't, it was right there, all the parking spots were coming right into the bunk rooms and stuff. It just didn't feel right. So I like it better on the second floor. It makes it feel better. I think the whole flow of that first floor is good. I think we probably should just assume, instead of doing the sloped roof, I would vote just to say, let's, go with the idea that's build it up so that, put it flat and build it up so it can be used for a second story addition if we wanted to sometime in the future. Doesn't have to be done, but it's an option that's there.
Over the training space?
Over the training space and, that area.
I really like the public-private split, like we talked about. I think middle school is the best example of that in recent construction, where it's, gym and cafeteria auditorium on one side and classes on the other. We've got the same concept here. I think that really works well for just the overall flexibility you're going to have with that facility or the town in general to say, either as an emergency operations center or it's just we need to have a big meeting, or we want to do a presentation on something, and being able to say, hey, we're going to have it here, and The public can access that without mucking up the rest of the operations on the other side. They'll be pretty much tucked out of the way. So, yeah, I think we're on a good path there as well.
And the suggestions about the bathrooms in the decon space would help. I mean, I think that Northbridge had a pretty good
Toilet.
layout. With the toilet facilities within those areas with the showers as well. Just functionally, I think it'll work better for them.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do like a cost analysis on building it the way it sits with that future expansion in mind versus just building it as like an open space off the back? Like building it out and just carrying that roof and kind of doing all the heavy work now, even if it remained vacant. I don't know what the jump is to now do a concrete deck
We can,
in preparation for something that may never happen.
when we run the estimate, we can ask that, and get that delta for you. I would caveat it with, that'll be giving you your upfront costs. There's going to be an operational cost between now and when that gets used, because you're going to have at least emergency lighting in there. You're going to have to condition the space. So there's going to be maintenance and things like that, and paying to heat it and cool it. Not to the same extent as the rest of the building, but you're going to want to keep it 55. You're going to want to keep it below 80. So there's a maintenance piece that
It's
that I
potentially
can't
open
capture.
to the lobby, depending on how you do that. If you frame that out, that second floor, you have to make a decision on the 2-story lobby and how it would interact with the second floor.
My thought on that point is I think we're right back in the same scenario that we were with that additional 5,000 square feet. If we were to build it out now and we were asked, well, what do you think that future use is? I think we're hard pressed at this point to say what it is. So I think the prepping of the deck, in the event that it could happen 30 years from now when that need is known, I think, because again, even with that build out, ultimately we're looking at, it's going to raise the cost of building, and I don't know that it's.
I mean, here's the example I always use on, we're not sure what a future use could be, but we have to plan for it. What about firefighting drones? Right? What if 20, 25 years down the road, there's fire suppression drone equipment that you guys are having to operate from somewhere? I think this building gives you the flexibility to, we talk about there might be more staff, there might be, think about, hey, these are the size of two bicycles or an ATV or something, maybe. If you have a built out roof deck, maybe it's a launch pad for firefighting drones, or the top of the apparatus bay might have to, serve that role. And it's, nobody really knows what that's going to look like because it hasn't really been created yet, but I know that thought process is going on, right? It's like, if we could have a drone that we could fly out to a brush fire and put it out straight from the fire
Already
station.
do that now in California.
Yeah.
They automatically launch
So-
off the roof.
Yeah. So, if that becomes commonplace, that's, a type of future need that you might have. And just to make sure that, this space could support that, or the, Auburn Street space.
I was going to say we got to keep in mind that we do have the Drury Square
Yeah.
space that now will be relegated to as the second station. The West Street station. In terms of duties, so there's extra space over there for future use as well too.
Yeah. But I do think you should build the roof line there with the idea that, hey, at some point, if we do need to, build this out, we're not going to have to do a major construction operation. Like, we've put the foundation in place, and it's just figuring out how to connect it. Same with what we're doing with the site to the, the side there. If that's a police station 30 years from now, or if it's some other thing we can't think of, municipal building of some sort, at least we've planned. We don't know what it is yet, but we've, tried to our best ability to put some space there for it.
to Sean's point, it might be an interesting number to know, but, you know, I think at this point, we're looking to sharpen the pencil in any way we can, and I just view that as an added expense.
It's probably a good number to have when we're talking about how we arrived at what we've decided, right? So, because that will be a question. Somebody's like, well, why didn't we build it out? And if we have the number, we can say, well, because it adds X, Y, Z to the cost, and we decided that we didn't know what we'd use it for. So
Well, when we
cut
talk about Drury Square, for $4,000, they opted not to put the heavy steel in, or something like that.
Heavy steel, and maybe I misunderstood you. I think we should absolutely prep that roof for a second floor addition. I thought you meant actually erecting walls and building out the second floor space.
I think all of it. I think it's all good numbers to kind of know, like, all right, if we just did the blank space, this is what it would be. And if we opt to do just a roof without the potential expansion, what is it? And then the added cost of doing that concrete deck and what that means.
Yeah. Yeah, when we run the estimate, we can get that. It's no sweat off my back to get that all together.
And I know it won't be exact, but at least
Right.
if we had an idea, well, now we can weigh out, what makes the most sense.
Through the chair, I think any numbers are good, so that when they ask the committee, well, what have you done? We'll say the first option was this and had 5,000 extra program space, and we asked them to readjust, and that was a cost savings of X. And then but we asked them for put this extra steel in, which was a little bit more, but it looks for the long term. So it shows sort of multiple fronts where the committee
Yep.
is actually looking at this, for not only for the firefighters but for the taxpayers as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I guess shortly after January too, right? We got to start the whatever campaign you guys need to engage on for selling this to the public. So what else do you need from Tecton to support that?
Visual aids.
And again, I think that's, I think we could probably partially answer the question tonight, but I think your work with the OPM, looking at just going through that value engineering exercise and whatever their input is, I think the town is going to want, and we really never, even with all of the projects that we potentially pitch outside of actually getting that $78 million quote, we've really never given a number. We've avoided it, which I think is a good thing because it's not a speculation of what a number is. So I think as far as the campaign, I think, between Tecton and the OPM, really trying to give us a realistic kind of cost estimate of what it is, because I think that's going to be part of the pitch. Yeah, I mean, I think the visual aids like we had the last time, boards, the four-sided view of the interior. I think internally we'll be able to kind of work some PDFs as like some mailers and things like that, or even the association.
We can help with those
The
too.
union or whoever's going to fund that campaign. I've had a couple of residents approach me about a Friends of, group in order to be able to fund some of that promotional material. So
Do we plan on having any community conversations about this?
yes, I would like to run another series after the first of the year of boards, even if we push the current tour that we did, like when we toured with the committee, push that out through cable access and social media. But I'd like to run some more informational sessions, like at the West Street Station, some public listening sessions.
Yeah, I think it's important that we sort of detail the program, right, and get people to understand that, this is what the needs are at a little bit more detailed level, and say, this is what we need, this is what we have, right, and here's the gaps, and here's how we're trying to, solve that in the most cost-effective way we can.
That we could probably do working with Chris and Cable Access is put together a separate video where we talk about the floor plan. So we can show the floor plan and say, here's what the flow would be, here's what this room does, and then we have training room, and this is what we have. So we could probably put together a separate video where, You know, if you're looking at it online, you're looking at this, but someone is talking over it, explaining what the spaces are and why the spaces are there and that kind of thing, so.
Through the chair, I mean, I think Matt's gonna have, in his company, is gonna have lots of experience on projects that have done well and what taxpayers have latched onto, whether it was more the visual side, was the financial side, was it the operational side, and then, you know, the chair and those folks that did the schools previously, know where some of those projects stumbled and where they succeeded, and ultimately, why some of it was timing and things of out of your control. But I think you've got that experience through the school side of how we got to be where we are. So I think we rely on the experience and the experts to help us along with that process.
From my experience, the people just want to be heard. It's when you go to town meeting, they're like, this is the first we're hearing of this, and I've never had a chance to give my input. That's when we've seen projects struggle. So all those things you laid out and more is how you sell a project. You gotta really meet everybody, multimedia, update the project page, get out on Facebook, get people into your buildings and touring, get the message out.
And we'll want to do some public comment sessions, even though often they're not well attended, but we'll at least want to do a couple and say, hey, we're gonna.
Yeah, and I agree with Matt. I'd really like to engage town meeting. I mean, it was overwhelming support for the OPM project, so I think that's a good sign that town meeting is at least looking at this as positive. But I would love to engage town meeting some more, and maybe we tie in some of those public listening sessions where they hosted town meeting, and we invite town meeting members, the public, and
Yeah, I mean, and that was the intention of the little presentation I did to town meeting, is like, hey, we're, this is what we're doing, and, keeping you up to date on what's going on here. Get ready for this, right? We laid the foundation for expect this stuff to come. And then I do think, I don't know if it's March, I don't know if it's April, but at some point we just invite everybody to the presentation room or something at the high school, or, town hall or something, and say, here's the boards, here's what we want to do, here's the program. Do you have any questions?
I may even engage town meeting members via email in January, asking their input on kind of exactly that question that we're talking about. Is what are your suggestions on how do you see this advertised and pitched, and try to, because maybe there's a town meeting member or a few that have an idea that we're not even thinking of right now that could say, oh, geez, that's a great idea, in order to be able to kind of go in that direction. So
I mean,
engaging them early.
one thing we could do, we did this with master plan, we did a community survey where we asked what's important to you, and we got a lot of people that said they wanted Trader Joe's to move to town, but I mean, along that lines, it's like, well, there's really three things we're trying to consider here, right? It's the program, it's the cost, it's the operational aspect of it. Like, what's most important, to just residents of the town, right? Do you want us to trim the dollars, or do you want to strike a balance, or is it, do you want to have a town focal point building that everybody says, oh, they got a great fire station? I don't know what that is in general. I think maybe just, doing a survey. We did manage to get quite a few people to fill it out. So, that could be an option too, especially in the January timeframe, to get a sense of, like, because ultimately the voters are going to have to say yes or no to whatever we put in front of them. So if we get an overwhelming indication that, like, price is the most important thing to people, then we know we have to take that in consideration, and maybe it is you lose the heavier roof, because it's like, I got to find $1 to shave off of this today, or it's it's not going to get approved. But maybe it's, hey, we want to make sure we're not doing this again in 20 years. So, we want to invest a little bit in the future. And then we say, okay, well, there's a talking point for that. It's like, we're planning, a little bit here for the fact that we don't really know what's going to happen 30 years from now, but we should be ready for it. And I don't know, just some, I think if I go back, we could look at what we did on the community survey there. I think we can pull some ideas out. that's basically just around public, service or fire, fire department, and say, what are you looking for in a department, and what's your views on it, and in terms of this project, like what would you like to see? Do you want to see a memorial? Do you want to see a visual, thing? Do you want a utilitarian building? Do you want, I've had people say, well, it doesn't cost that much to slap up a steel barn and, park some, and things like that. And it's so you want to see like what percentage of people think that way versus, people that understand that, hey, a fire station is a different type of building. But
Yeah, most people in the public think a fire station is a big parking garage. Right?
Yeah.
It's a little different than that. But that survey information will be good because then we can tailor our material to respond to those questions. Because if they're going to come back and say we just want it as cheap as we possibly can, well, we can craft a message on how we've been fiscally responsible through the entire 7 years of this process to get them the most cost-effective project for the department. I mean, you look at the program from 2016 that we had originally wrote, and it's not the same as what we're looking at today. It's more modest and more reasonable than it originally was because we've incrementally made those steps. And I think there's a story to tell if cost is the number one thing in the public of how we've gone through that through the previous committee, through you all now. And we can help out on a number of these different things. We've done multimedia informational sessions where we can pull up like Mentimeter or something like that, if anybody's familiar with that, and do live polling to get some more interactive feedback from communities. We do a lot of this quite often, so let us know what you need assistance with, and we'll help
actually, I
prepare
think the
material.
best example from the community survey was we asked about housing and what types of development people in town would like, were pro or con against, and just in terms of like apartment complexes, duplexes, fourplexes, bungalow communities, that kind of thing. And we got a bunch of pretty good information that was able to guide what the recommendations should be for a housing plan. So I think we could do something similar on this.
Yeah, just through the chair, I know the chief has scheduled over the years like a multitude of open houses that have been not greatly attended, a lot of them, but maybe we identify, instead of having people come to us, we identify where the people are and go to them, whether it's, I'm thinking Auburn youth basketball, on a Saturday morning at the middle school, there's 300 plus kids with their families and grandparents. And, even if you get a couple residents to sit in the lobby, and maybe not have people in person, like Matt just mentioned, you can create some presentations that run on a freestanding board, and maybe there's somebody there that stays and answers questions while other people are watching. Like, I think it's going to have to be a lot of one-on-one sales pitching.
That's a great point. Uxbridge did something very similar. They reached out to all the civic groups and they took invitations to those civic groups meetings. So like you said, we went to them, and in talking to the fire chief at the time when he was there, he goes, sometimes I was talking to 3 people and sometimes I was talking to 30, he said, but they thought that was successful by reaching out just to all the civic groups and saying, hey, we'd like to come to you at your next meeting.
We've had good success with that too, like fairs, things like that. Like, it's not the season for it, but if there's like winter carnival or something like that, those are always great ways to just set up a booth. We'll come. We'll I'll be there on a Saturday. I don't care. We just did it for Munson for first night out or National Night Out. Well received down there. So let us know if there's any large community events, and we'll show up. And
Well, you've got the tree lighting coming up in a couple weeks. I don't know, slap something together. They're going to be right there at the station.
Yeah, I get, I guess it depends on, how quickly we get some renderings or whatever, but that's certainly an opportunity to maybe have some boards like in the
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
You don't have any monetary parts of it and stuff, so it's
Even if
all
we
those
were to-
questions, but
even
yeah.
if we were to just show them floor plans and
Yeah.
a slip of paper, maybe with a QR code on it that links them to the committee's page on the website.
Right.
So they can go and just,
get updates. Yep.
hit the QR code and it brings them to the info that we have on the website at the moment.
Actually, that's a pretty good idea at the tree lighting to just say, hey, we're working on this now. We're in progress, but just to raise a little bit of awareness that we are in the middle of this and plan to be, having something on the ballot in May, I think is important to start getting everybody to understand that it's going to be there. It could just be a one sign that has a couple floor plans that you blur the edges or something to make it conceptual instead of there QR code on a cookie. There you go.
Matt, that's December 6th.
But yeah, it wouldn't have to be anything more than like, this is what we're doing. Here's the link to find out more. Hope to see you
Stay
again.
tuned. We'll have
Stay
future,
tuned.
future presentations.
Yeah, and then you could always put that board up at the Holiday Craft Fair on the 14th too. There's a lot of people that go through
A
there.
lot of people go through that.
Sometimes it's helpful when we do these, if you have a project email address or somewhere where we can get direct messaging on Facebook or something like that someone can receive. We can start building out a frequently asked questions sheet or something like that from there.
So that's on our website. So we've created, the committee has a webpage.
Okay.
And it has probably over 20 frequently asked questions right now. They do have an email address where people can email questions to. So really the next big piece to kind of get on the website is really the exterior renderings and that kind of stuff. But it's, as we've moved each week, I've been updating the website with whatever the latest information is.
Excellent.
Fire chief and webmaster.
For December 6th board, do you need the board mounted and all that stuff, or you just need a PDF file and you guys can get it printed and mounted?
No, if you could turn them in, we don't have the capability of.
No, we'll just send it
that
to,
size.
we'll send it to one of the print houses and just have it delivered to.
Okay. Yeah, just have
West
West
Street?
Street, the fire station. Headquarters.
Headquarters?
So does the committee want to see the flat roof? Get rid of the pitch and go with a flat roof?
It won't look too different than the rendering.
No, but I just,
Just
Yeah.
the flat for the training side, but the pitch for the front
Right.
facing.
The flat, just so we can build it with
future.
the idea that it's probably going to become a structural element.
I would think
I
you
would be in
could,
favor of that.
I would think you could match that to the apparatus day look. I mean, it's the same idea. That would.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's basically what we're thinking.
I'm just asking because whatever renderings we're gonna put out there publicly, even though they may tweak as time goes on, if the committee says, no, we'd like to see the flat roof on the training piece now, I just assume that be in the first rendering that we make public.
No, I agree.
For the board for the 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I think we'll do too is these are a little crisp. We'll put some filter on it in Photoshop, so like a watercolor filter to kind of wash it out a little bit, so it doesn't look as They want to see a work in progress. They don't want to see the finished product without having a chance to.
To make it dreamy looking.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So
Well, yeah, rendering a site plan, maybe a little bit of information about the size and what you need or something like that. But we'll workshop something. I'll send it to you. Let me know your thoughts.
Their feedbacks usually has nothing to do with the building. It's usually like, why did we put that plant there? Or why is there a grade card? Why isn't there a red card? You know?
It was planters last time, wasn't it? It was planters up on.
No planters.
Almost every time it has nothing to do with the building.
One of the biggest criticisms we got out of the public safety building was glass. A lot of negativity about the amount of glass, which, I don't know, I didn't think it was, I thought there were some areas where it probably could have been toned down, but that was probably the biggest criticism.
So we have a lot of.
Put any glass on the second floor there. Hold off.
So people are more a fan of brutalist architecture again? Is that where we're leaning?
Yeah, we're gonna refer them to Boston City Hall.
Yeah.
It's only liked by architects. No one else. One of the guys on our project team actually got married at Boston City Hall just because of the architecture of it. Everyone he knows is like, why would you do that?
All right, cool.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, I know we've covered the next item, the OPM stuff.
We didn't really finish that discussion, though.
No, we didn't, but
Okay.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
It's, going out, Wednesday. It'll be out public and then, due back by the, December 13th. So that looking the next week to try to do the interviews and stuff, which, kind of leads into tentatively next meeting, because I just put it out there 2 weeks from now on the 2nd, but I don't know if there's that much to cover between now and 2 weeks, and whether we just hold off until the week of the 16th and say that we're going to have one or two meetings, maybe, I don't know. Depending on what the interest is, if we can get all the interviews in one night or not.
And how long do those typically last? 30 minutes?
And then I was gonna.
It's whatever we wanted to do. I mean, we could make them 20 minutes with 10 minutes of question and answer or something like that, and each one of them and stuff, and then schedule them in.
So is, on the interview side, do we have to ask the same questions of both candidates? And is there standard questions we have to
So
ask?
you have to start out with standard questions for each, but depending on their answer, you're able to elaborate based on their answer. But if you interview 3 firms, all 3 firms have to hear the same starting point questions. But again, depending on their answer, that will lead you off into something that you may only talk to that one company about because their answer brought you in that direction.
How many, do we have an idea of how many we think we're gonna get for proposals?
So, that's a good question. I asked the Charlton Fire Chief, who recently did this, they received 4 OPM proposals when they went out, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, they received 4 proposals. So even if we did a half an hour, let's say we got 4, we did a half-hour interview, that's a couple hours worth of interviews. And we can tell them right out of the gate, we can say, we're scheduling you for a half an hour interview to come in, be prepared to, present on the key points of the RFQ. Your interview's a half an hour, and then their presentation is really based around, same thing when we did the architect interviews, we did those 1 hour apiece. Those were a little more involved, but we kept those to 1 hour.
Do we have to interview all candidates? No.
So, right, so when we get the proposals in, the committee could say to the chair and, or the chair, the vice chair, the committee could give them the authority to only interview the candidates. They have to meet the qualifications in order to be interviewed. So you may have 4 people put in, but only 2 companies may meet the qualifications that are outlined in the RFQ. Therefore, you're really only interviewing 2 companies. If all of the companies meet the qualifications, I would suggest that you interview all companies that meet the qualifications.
Who do we go through to make sure they meet the qualifications?
The town manager. So the
Town
town
manager
manager
would go through.
will determine who meets the qualifications, and then he will share that with the committee. So if 2, 3, whatever that number is, you should plan on interviewing those that meet the minimum qualification.
So submissions are going to close the 13th.
11 a.m. on the 13th. So we'll know on that Friday afternoon, we'll know on Friday afternoon who meets the minimum qualification, because the way that it's packaged on their bid submission form, really at a glance, we can say whether or not they meet. So we'll know Friday how many companies we're looking at. And what happens is when they request the RFQ, they can either pick it up at the town hall or they have to request it through email. So we'll tell them at the time that they're given the RFQ, we will tell them interviews for this will be held on, and we can give them the date and the time of the interview if the committee wants to decide on that. So they know well in advance that, okay, providing I meet the minimum qualifications, I gotta show up for an interview on.
Basically the next Monday.
When that following week. So it's not necessarily dropped in their lap that, oh my God, I gotta meet an interview. They're known at the time that they get the RFQ that they're gonna have to interview in 2 weeks.
My only concern is if we get a dozen, if you don't want to give them the date and time, I'd say 6 hours.
I don't think you're gonna get.
We can tell them in the RF when they we can tell them anytime between the 27th and the 13th. Be prepared the week of the 16th to interview. We don't have to give them that interview date until we schedule them. You know, if it's the 13th, if we do a poll or something and just go 1, 2, 3. But before the 16th, we should establish like when we want to have, you know, I would schedule 4 blocks of time. I don't, you know, it sounds like if Charlton's only got 4, even if we have 5, we're in the realm.
Like 4 half-hour.
Yeah, you want to
Half hour is pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean,
And I wouldn't do them back to back because obviously they're, you know, maybe 15 minutes between, you know, but I don't know what the group feels about a half hour, but like we went through, you know, it took us an hour to go through a floor plan, which should, but if someone's giving a presentation, if I'm told a half hour, I'm sweating to get through it in a half hour.
Well, I mean, from the OPM standpoint, you're looking for the kind of the presentation, who they are, what they bring
Background.
to the table, and then a quick, you know, what they're going to do for us and
That's
stuff.
true.
So, I mean, it's not as intense and detailed. I would think that you know, 20 minutes and then 10-minute question and answer time period or something like that, and then a little break in between.
15
We
minutes.
scheduled them 45 minutes apart, and you try to keep it to that 30 to 40 minute. Even if someone ends 10 minutes earlier, most likely they've been sitting in the hallway for 15 or 20 minutes anyway, so you're able to kind of stay ahead that way. So even if you schedule them every 45 minutes.
That's a good point. They
Yeah.
should just come with their project team and
Yep.
this is what we're going to do. Yeah, that's a good point.
Did we know enough tonight to sort of figure that all out and not have to meet until then, or do we want to have a meeting between now and then to iron all that out? I mean, I don't know what we'll be evaluating necessarily, other than, you know, hey, this is what we do.
Well, what their
At some point-
experience
Yeah, and then at some point we'll have to come to a recommendation, right? To say this is the ranked order that we put them in, and then that goes to town management to negotiate with number 1 and work their way down the list until they can come up, you know, with a deal. But
What's the potential the date for the interviews?
It'll be the 16th,
The week
or
of
that week of the 16th.
Monday is the 16th, so it would be any time that week.
So do we have to meet between then to establish the questions? I mean, when are we gonna do that?
Unless the committee authorized the chair to come up with the questions with the town manager.
I'd be comfortable having the chair do it. Just personally, I mean, if it's a half hour, I think it's pretty straightforward what the questions should be. I don't think we need to establish that by a committee, but
Okay.
That's fine.
No, I mean, I just did. I defer to the people that are in the trades and projects to
I mean, what did you go through with the school?
Those are
it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But the construction manager side of it, it was a lot longer. It was a Saturday, and it was 6 hours long, 7 hours, something like that. One interview after another. It was quite intense.
Was that the OPM though for the actual construction?
No, that was
Oh, that was like this?
that was the contractor.
Oh,
The OPM, I'm trying to remember. It wasn't, the OPM didn't seem as long. I don't think we had a bunch, but it wasn't as long. Plus you had the MSPCA, you know, format that you had to follow anyway and stuff, and go by their rules, and so it kind of stepped you along a little bit easier through these things.
when we go to, you know, as a construction manager, when we go to these interviews, been to quite a few, it's the only thing we want to know is if there's a scorecard, right, going through, and if there's not, then sometimes we're told you have 45 minutes, you have 90 minutes, you have an hour, and it's up to us to kind of put that. I'd prefer, going into an interview, that it's just, you have this timeline, you know, here are 3 questions that we want answered. You have to, at your minimum, you have to answer those 3, and then you have to fit within the time frame.
Yep.
That's pretty reasonable.
Through the chair, if it will help, I can reach out to some of the other projects locally that have hired project managers and see if I can get my hands on their interview questions and share those with you, and that may help build out the questions for you.
think we need a motion to do that, and I'm not going to as the vice chair, so somebody else has to.
Make a motion that we authorize the chair to establish a list of interview questions for the OPM interview process.
Second.
Any discussions on it? My discussion, I would just amend it and say the vice chair as well, just so we have another person involved, if you want, if you can be.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Okay. Amend my motion to include the vice chair for, as part of that question establishment.
And the second?
Second.
Any other discussions or questions? If not, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The vote. So, I guess then we probably don't need to have a meeting on the 2nd right now, I don't believe. In 2 weeks, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there'd be any discussion.
We're not gonna have anything from the architect, anything, so, so it'll be something during the week of the 16th, and we'll reach out to everybody and let you know.
Do we want to go through the availability now between us in the room, or?
Yeah, is there any days that are not? Good point.
My only unavailable day is Wednesday that week.
And then what time of day are we thinking for this? If we allocate, for 4, it's going to be at least an hour and a half. I would figure 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Knocked out.
I mean, I would push for about the same time that we normally meet. I mean, I don't know. The last time, I mean, coming up on an hour and a half right now, but we were 3 hours a month ago when we were tearing the plans apart, but hopefully we don't have to do that.
We tore it apart in big pieces, though, so it wasn't that bad. It was,
Through the chair, Chief, does it throw a wrench in things if we just get one person that meets the qualifications? I mean, obviously, we'd interview them.
You'd still have to interview them. I don't necessarily see that happening, but there is no minimum bid. If only one person met the qualifications and we interview that person, the committee still has the option as to whether or not they're gonna appoint that one person. I don't anticipate that would be the case. I would think that we would at least be at a minimum of the 4 that Charlton received, so I would say that would be the minimum.
Okay.
For what it's worth, I've had several OPMs that I know have been asking about this project for about 4 years now.
do we want
Just do the
to pencil
Monday.
in the 16th?
Yeah.
That's our normal.
That would be the second meeting out, so the 16th would be a normal night anyway. It's good with me.
That gives us.
We can target
I think that gives us the opportunity if we need to do some follow up or something and meet later in the week still before you get into the holiday week.
Yep.
So.
Town manager should be able to advise you if there's a plethora of candidates, right, that we may have to schedule a second date that week. And
Yeah.
Yeah, he said by Friday afternoon we should know that.
Well,
I mean, it's in by 11 on Friday, so we'll know right away.
earlier too, if 12 people have already taken out on, the Wednesday before, we know.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, they're also. I mean, they're taking it out starting this Wednesday, so we'll know.
Right away.
We'll know how many people are grabbing it or.
And that would be a committee decision. Hypothetically, let's say there's 8, right? Let's say we get 8. The committee would decide whether or not you want to try to hammer out all 8 on the 16th, or if you want to make the 17th.
I think we've already decided.
Or you make the 17th an alternate night, and then on that Friday, we know whether or not we're gonna do 4 on Monday, 4 on Tuesday, something like that, so.
Well, I think we can just sort of plan on that, and we can set the next meeting date at the Monday as a formal action, but we can say, hey, look, if there's more than 4, we'll probably push to 2 days, Right.
So it would be Tuesday, the 17th, just for planning purposes.
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
Posting and letting them know, so, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll plan on the 16th, 17th, only if needed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, when school committee meetings.
Those are
School committee
Tuesdays.
meeting the Wednesdays.
Oh,
The Wednesdays,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought they were Tuesdays.
Okay. The only other agenda item was public comment, but since we have no public here, there's no comment. So if there's nothing else,
Motion to adjourn?
take a motion to adjourn in a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.